Are you looking for inspiration on a daily basis? Then check out Deal to Heal Teas. With our inspirational teas, you're sure to find something to inspire you. That's deal2healteas.com. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear inspirational tea and be inspired all day. Let's go to deal2healteas.com. Again, that's deal2healteas.com. Hey guys, if you're enjoying this podcast, then I know you'll enjoy the Girl Dad Discussion podcast. I'm your host, Ernest James, and I believe the relationship between a daughter and her father is one of the most important relationships a young lady can have. And therefore, my mission is to promote the daddy-daughter relationship by sharing the voices of girl dads to the world. So check out our podcast on every platform where podcasts can be listened to. And if you want to watch the podcast, check us out on our YouTube channel. Again, that's the Girl Dad Discussions podcast with your host, Ernest James. Welcome to Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. On this podcast, my guest and I will discuss topics and ways to help us to heal in every area of our lives. I believe that everyone can live a life that is happy, healthy, and whole. So I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill. Deal with your problem, heal from the pain, and fulfill your purpose. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get to it. All right. Welcome to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. I am your host, Ernest James, and I believe that everyone can and should live a life that is whole, healed, and healthy. And therefore, I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with your problems, to heal from the pain, and to fulfill your purpose. Thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. If you haven't already, make sure that you listen, like, subscribe, and share our podcast on all of your podcast listening platforms, as well as make sure you guys go to our YouTube channel, which is the Deal to Heal Podcasting Network, and sign up and subscribe to that. Again, that's the Deal to Heal Podcasting Network, where not only can you find the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, but you also can find the Girl Dad Discussions podcast, which is our sister podcast, the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, and there's also two other podcasts that's also there. So make sure you guys go to the Deal to Heal Podcasting Network on YouTube in order to sign up for our podcast. Also, right now, for a limited time, I'm giving away my ebook, Forgiving Me, the 4-Step Guide to Self-Forgiveness, absolutely free. Just go to ebooksbyejames.com. Again, that's ebooksbyejames.com to get your free copy of the ebook, Forgiving Me, the 4-Step Guide to Self-Forgiveness. While you're there, check out some of our other ebooks that we have, including From Males to Men, which is a male mentoring ebook, as well as the Core 4, which is the Core 4 values that every daughter should get from her father. Again, when you go to ebooksbyejames.com to get your free copy of the Forgiving Me, the 4-Step Guide to Self-Forgiveness, and while you're there to get your free copy, purchase some of our other our other ebooks to help us out. All right. Thank y'all so much for that. Today, just like any other day, we are blessed with the guest, Prince Marcel. How you doing today, sir?
What's going on, y'all? What's going on, E, man? How you doing, bro? I'm doing pretty good, man. It's Prince Marcel, aka also known as Marcellus Speaker, the Wealth Mentor, professional speaker. But yeah, man, let's get into it.
All right, all right. First of all, let me say thank you for being here because you could have been anywhere else with anyone else, but you're here with me and my listeners. We definitely appreciate it. So do me a favor, man. Let's go back. Because I always say when we get into this space of helping and this space of making change in the community, it always starts from somewhere. Right. So let's go back in a little bit of your own story. What was that initial incident that happened in your story that made you be like, you know what, whatever it was that you was going through, that you made it out of, and then decided, you know what, I'm going to turn around and now be a change that I want to see in the community?
It was a few things, bro. It was a few things. In the beginning, I was just like everybody else. That's why I never judged. I grew up on the south side of Chicago, in a place called the Wild Wild, Roseland specifically as the neighborhood, but the Wild Hunnets. Um, and bro, it was what we call, or the young men of today call the trenches. And I didn't know I was broke though. Like I didn't know I was the broke friend in my neighborhood. Hey man, I'm being honest with you. So, you know, my living conditions were not the best. But we made do. My mom put, food in my belly when she could. We had to move around a lot. But luckily enough, we still had a family home to come back to. But the family home was in the trenches. So by the time uh, I was about 14, you had to make some troubling decisions because you start to realize your mom ain't got it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And when I say she ain't got it, she making ends meet. And she's struggling. So you get put in this place of I you ain't getting no money from your OG. So what you about to do? And you go down the street to your homies, they already outside. So it's either that and then no male figure inside the house. I knew who my father was, so I always make sure I clarify that for people. I knew who my father was. My father was just not active as much as I believed he should have been. And by the time he did, there was a place of like I didn't really need to listen to you. And then there was a shift. There was a shift in that. But the biggest thing to answer your question though, I think the catalyst for me was when I seen I couldn't depend on my mom to get me where I wanted to be financially. And when I had to separate her as my mother from her financial habits. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to take on that and I knew I wanted better. And when I seen that her habits were taking a hold of her life versus growing her life, I knew I had to move around and really become my own man. And I love my mother to this day. 'Cause she's my number one supporter to this day. But I tell people this now, man. Separate your mother, who can be your best friend, from the individual. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
The Georgia, the Mercers, or whoever she is, and her financial habits.
Yeah, yeah. I want to touch on two things you said. Number one about separating them. Separating your mother from her financial habits. And I would just add to that also separate them from who they may be and who they may be able to teach you to be, right? So and the reason
Yeah,
why I say that, so because my mom had great financial habits. You know what I'm saying? Like she had like A1 credit, all kind of credit cards, but she didn't teach us about it. You know what I'm saying? So even though she had A1 credit, she didn't have the I don't know if I want to say she didn't have the ability because I think she had the ability, but just not the thought process to even think about. Let me teach my kids about credit. You know what I'm saying? Even though she had great credit, and so that was something that we had to kind of learn on our own, the ins and outs of credit and all of that. So I wanted to touch on that, but I wanted to touch on something else because I know you, right? And I
yeah,
know that you are a mentor as well as I. We mentor with Champs mentor group here in Chicago, which is a mentor group that you put me on to. which we'll talk a little bit about
Yeah.
that later. But you mentioned about your
Mhm.
father not being as active as you would have liked him to. Just in your
Yeah.
experience, how much of a part did that play in your decision to become a mentor? You know, later on to be the example that you know didn't necessarily have. Was that did that how much of that played a part in that decision to become a mentor later on, or was that just something that was always in you to do?
Um, this is on my heart to share. I don't think I've ever actually said this publicly. But I'm gonna say this to whoever needs to hear this, and hopefully it serves you. Um, Not having my father there in the house, being able to wake up with my mother, I could tell how it impacted my mother just as an individual, but how it impacted our family all the way even to my sister. Just our whole family dynamic. And I remember one night, and I never forget it. I was talking to my mom. I think I probably just turned 18. Probably just turned 18. And I told her, and I cried. I told her because I was hurt. I said, Ma, when I grow up, I'm going to make sure that my son sees me every day when I have when I have a child, that he doesn't look up um, into the crowd and wondering where his dad is when he's playing
Mhm.
uh foosball, or that he may be too occupied that he may forget to call, thinking that you don't remember his son's birthday, and things of that nature. So not having my father there, uh and it impacted me even when it came to making decisions in life, because I think I'm the man, and when there's no man, and I commend stepfathers, when there's no man, you I grew up by the time I was 10, I'm the man of the house. I'm not a man, I'm the man of the house.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
So
yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so let's get a little bit more into it because now you serve on different platforms, right? And you go by Prince Marcel,
Hmm.
and I know one of the things that you talk about is our history as a people a little bit. So, and then I see you got the Juneteenth the Juneteenth shirt on. You know what I'm saying? So
Shirt
how did
on,
you get
black
in?
woman in the back.
Right? So how did you get into that arena, and what do you hope to serve us as an audience? You know, because I know that you know as a speaker, not just this audience for the platform, but even as a
Hmm.
speaker, you know, speaking on different stages as you do. You know, even we talk about our history and where we come from and where we are as a people. You know, what is your message for us? You know, as the audience, and what do you hope to serve? How do you hope to serve us even in that area?
So, as a speaking, my message to the audience, history plays a really big part in my ideal. Number one, as a Pan Africanist. So I'm a Pan Africanist. I do believe in African unity, and Black people should all come together. But even from a historical standpoint, when I look out into the world today, I have hundreds of historical examples from individuals to eras of this is possible for Black people specifically, or just
Mhm.
underserved communities, that when they say um, we at such economical strengths, we can't get ahead and everybody else is, our ancestors had it twice as hard, and they built Black Metropolis as a reference to Chicago, right there in Bronzeville. That was actual Black Metropolis. If you go and listen to Lorenz Tate's Bronzeville, he had a podcast. He did all about it. But the Black Wall Streets of the world and our country, that was a prime example of who's stopping us from doing what. And that's how that played a part in my confidence and understanding of of what we're capable of, who I am as a man, as an individual, as a Black man, and to keep that in my forefront.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's important for us to know our history and where we come from, and definitely that's one of the things I like to impress upon us too. Like there's nothing new under the sun. And if we've seen it done before, we could do it again. It just is a change of our mindset. Definitely have to have some changes into it to be able to look at ourselves and see ourselves in a different light. And even coming from some of our communities, underserved communities, however you want to look at it, you know, sometimes that mindset is the hardest thing to change. You know what I'm saying? Like you could
Yeah.
change areas, you could change streets, you could change states. You know what I mean? You could change countries, but if that mindset doesn't change, you still just find yourself in the same situation, just in a new environment. And so I think that's important for us to even to mention. But like I said, once we look at the examples that's been done before us, that came before us, and we think about the Black Wall Street and those things where all these black people who had the knowledge to do the same things that they were doing for other people, to then turn around and do them for themselves. And then that was how they built these cities, because now with the trade that I learned from whoever, and I was doing it for Mr. John down the street, now I'm doing it for myself. Now I'm operating myself and still using the same trades, still using the same information, still using the same ability that I have, but now I'm building something for myself. And even now in the climate that we are now, I'm a tradesman, right? I'm a bricklayer. I've been a bricklayer for 20 something years now. And I push the building trades as something that is good for any people, but definitely as us, as minorities, because it allows you to make the most money with the fewest resources, right? Because you're working with your hands. So if you can afford a hammer, you know what I mean, a trowel, you know what I'm saying, a saw, something that don't cost a lot of money, you can actually use these simple hand tools with the knowledge
Yeah.
that you have and ability that you have as a tradesman to make as much money as you want to make. You know, but
Yeah.
again, it's just taking that mindset and being able to change our mindsets, that to even know that it's possible, or even believe that it's
Yeah.
possible to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And it's ironic that you say that because I picked up tinkering, and people gonna be like, "What? Wait, how do you feel about your dad?" I picked up like playing with things from my father. So this goes back to my father wasn't in my life um as much as I wanted him to,
Mm-hmm.
and there were moments of just disappointments, and just it was a lot. And he came around more by the time I was like junior year. So that's why there's a level of, when at this point, when you're by the time that you're more active, and this goes out to why we mentor and why men are important in the pinnacle years of a young man's life, because by the time he comes in and sort of tries to encourage his presence, it don't stick the same. If I could just be
Mm-hmm.
frank, it just don't. And it's sort of like I'm a look at it, if I go back and be like, now you're trying to pressure me as my father now. What happened to when I'm 10, 12, 13, put me in front of a card in, take me to
Mm-hmm.
with you to be like, son, this is how you become a mechanic. Now when I got older, because I had car issues, I'm an adult
Yeah.
now, you hear me? So, I'm of course I'm gonna call you when I sort of feel like I don't need to, need a reason to call you at this point. Besides, hey man, I need help fixing my car. And you could at least do this for me now. Um,
Yeah.
and so, and that's weird because I learned, I changed light bulbs, uh, fix the throttle. You know what I'm saying? Like I really do like hands-on building my furniture. And that was from actually spending time with my dad when I got that opportunity. So that's why I also tell young men, there's going to be a time where you do have to make a decision. I'm not saying don't feel how
Mm-hmm.
you feel, because you are entitled to that feeling and how you deal with it. But there is a point in your life to where there should be some form of forgiveness, because there's going to be a time where you're going to have to make a decision to forgive somebody. And if it's your father,
Mm-hmm.
make that time up.
Yeah, and I want to piggyback on that thought because that's one of the things that I tell people too. Because I talk to a lot of people, men and women who grew up without their fathers. And a lot of times, they are adults, but they're still holding on to the fact that their parent wasn't there, their father wasn't there. But then on the
Yep.
other hand, they want them to be there. You know what I
Yep.
mean? So it's like
Yep.
I want you to be a part of my life, but then at the same time, I still want to be mad at you for not being a part. And I always tell them like at some point, as an adult now, when you was a kid, you had to wait for him, to show up and to come around and to whatever. I said, but now as an adult,
Mhm.
you get to choose the relationships that you invest in, and if that's a relationship that you want to have, you got to, number one, like you said, forgive, and then you have to put forth the effort to build that relationship and make it to be what you want it to be. But you can't do that still holding a grudge for the past that he wasn't there in the past. Not saying that he doesn't have to answer for that, but you can't have it both ways. You can't hold the grudge and invite him in at the same time because it's not going to work. So that's definitely something that we have to take in consideration as we get older, to building those relationships, and not just with our dads, but with anybody that we want to be active in our lives who we may have thought should have showed up at another point of our life, but they didn't show up. But we still want them to be in our lives. We definitely have to navigate those situations where we choose how we want them to show up now, and as adults, build those relationships to make it to be whatever it is that we want it to look like. Um, I want to talk a little bit more. I mentioned earlier about changing our mindsets, right? To be able to see what's possible because of our past, and just I know that you and I, have been down the road um, of professional development in our journeys to becoming the people
Mhm.
the men that we are now. I know my journey recently was more or less probably within the last 3 years that I did the most work I've ever done, on myself and really getting into personal development. In your journey, um, how much of a part has personal development played in you personally? And then when you start getting into the space of finances and how it affects our families, because if you talked about being able to differentiate between your mom and her finances, how much does as a part did that play in your life, and then how much of a part do you believe it plays as we move forward to begin to try to change our family dynamics with financial literacy?
So I'm gonna start here. How it changed me and how I personally developed. So I remember my mom, right? I remember saying this to her because I think I just had a knack for understanding like don't waste your money
Mhm.
on things that I don't see to be successful. So my mom would send me to the corner store in our neighborhood. Shout out to Hilltop in Roseland. She would send me over there to play her numbers. And she would send me with cash, tips, and everything, right? So I'm walking to the to the liquor store to play the numbers with 10, 20, 40, 50, 60. Let it be a good day, boy. It's $100 in my hand. And making change or playing it for the numbers, right? And I'm just watching my OG, like I'm just watching my mom's do this on a weekly basis, on a daily basis. I'm like, Mom, why you ain't winning nothing like frequently? Like that even back then as a kid, so that it wasn't making no sense to me. But it was just she just had that notion, like with hope. My mom lived with a lot of hope,
Mhm.
and I was just like, but no, mom, like that money could go somewhere else, especially me, because I'm like, man, I could probably get you probably give me some more shoes. I might have could have been going on this trip, and when I seen that, I think that was a small inkling into don't mismanage your money for wants over
Mhm.
necessities. You know what I'm saying? I'm all for taking your shot. Because my
Right.
mom, and it's funny, she probably never said this, but she won the lottery. Like She ain't won a lot. She ain't won money. The mom's not rich. Okay, we're not doing none
Right.
of that. She won on like a little lotto, one time, and but there was some things in that. But when it comes to like that turning point and how it can impact your family
Mhm.
is there were moments to where like, and my dynamic was a little different. So my sister had kids. So I really want y'all to get this when I say that the money dynamic really different. I ain't even though my mom, even though I was her youngest, her financial priorities shifted to my mom, to my sister, and her kids, or whatever was
Mhm.
going on with my sister. And I think my mom was just in that hope of, I got a son, he's smart, he gonna figure it out, whether she said it to me or not. Like, that's just how she went about it. And my daughter, in this, I guess you would say, male dominated world, or like with all these struggles, she
Mhm.
needs me,
Right.
right? And I say I love my mom because she did support me. She got me through school, but that money didn't carry over. That money went to my sister. So like, I
Mhm.
had to do what? Now that there is no money coming to me, the first thing I'm gonna think about is, how do I get this bread? Now, when you live in an impoverished neighborhood, when you live in the hood, and now your first mind is how I get this bread, who the first people you think I'm gonna run into? I'm not running into Bill. I'm not running into nobody that look like me, Robert Smith, Elon Musk. There was no EYL. It wasn't none of that. The first
Mhm.
men out there is everybody who just trying to make ends meet, and it might not always be the proper way. They might be on the
Mhm.
corner. They might be the DVD man. Even then, you ain't even realize that the DVD man was supposed to be selling you DVDs. But
Right.
still, so it's just like, this is what I got. All I see is the hustlers outside, at first.
Mhm.
And my mom helped me get a job, but I'm still broke.
Yeah.
So, that not talking about finances, or having a better financial understanding impacts the home, and not only impacts you personally, it drives a part of your life decisions. A lot of people make these life changing or bad decisions because of financial strain.
Mhm. So what was
So
that?
yeah,
What was that initial thing that made you be like, all right, now I'm gonna go learn,
I ain't
actually
gonna be
learn
broke
about.
again.
Yeah.
Uh,
what was that initial thing, and then what was the opportunity that
um,
presented itself that led you to actually begin to learn financial literacy for yourself?
my uncle played a part. My uncle was my best friend, so I say that I'm gonna give him credit to that. My uncle Johnny was my best friend, and he always had an entrepreneur mindset. No matter what I did, I would be able to go into his room and he would say, "Nephew, you smart. I'm gonna talk to you about real estate. I'm gonna talk to you about this business plan and so forth and so on." And I think the first thing that really clicked for me was once I was older actually. I had an understanding of business. So like when I graduated, I went to business school. I was chasing financial security. That's really what it
Mhm.
was. I went to Computer System Institute trying to find a quick way into getting a salary. But the biggest catalyst for me was when I found the stock market later in my 20s, and just hustling it wasn't getting me nowhere. And it clicked. It literally clicked. I could make as much money as anybody that was out on the corner without risking my life. And I started to build a portfolio. By that time, I found people like Nipsey Hussle, who not only spoke in his interviews, but he rapped about financial literacy. Nipsey is a big part of like my influence and really diving into it. That's why I do pay homage to Earn Your Legion, all of them, because they were a part of my journey. But
Mhm.
that happened later, and it was because my mom struggled a lot. My mom was trying to do the rent to own, which if you wasn't doing nothing but paying the mortgage and you wasn't
Mhm.
finna own the crib, and he expecting you to move. as within the next 5 years. Is you really finna rent to own for 30 years? Who really finna do that? And then when it comes to another one was my car. I remember this. My pops actually took me, but I figured out what I thought was a social norm, and I could say this was a cultural norm, even when it comes to the mismanagement of that and the loan, right? So I go in, I'm moving out. This is it's a transition. So my grandfather and I had a job. So in between 18 to about 22, even up to now, I've always had a job, but I wasn't making money that would be considered six figures and so forth. Like we just over broke, job, just over broke. Um, and I sold my Pontiac because again I was picking up on these just financial tidbits and like I'm not gonna make these same decisions my OG made, signing your car, doing a co-sign, messing up your credit. Now you need help doing. I I I I paid attention and I was aware enough to not do the things that either my parent did or a family member did, and I was like, no, don't do that. Now this goes back to the car thing. My I sold. I'm gonna break it down to you. My granddaddy was like, you got to get off you gotta get off your ass. Excuse me, y'all. But that's that. He came in the room, he kicked the door. Even though I was working, he just felt like I know my grandson, and I think about this now. I know my grandson can be better than that and do better than that. I'm gonna push him on out into the world. At first, I was hurt. Now I understand it. So he like, no, you need to go ahead and get your own place. I was like, wait a minute, I pay for bills, pay for groceries. I'm adulting. Like, what you mean? He's like, no, but I want you to. And he said it in his own little way. So I sold my Pontiac that he gave me. I sold the Pontiac. I used the money from the Pontiac to pay for my security deposit to move out. But at that point, I still got my job, so I need another car. Now I'm like, all right, I'm finna go do this. This a hood thing for real. When I got that other car, I said, I'm getting me an Impala, sonny. If I'm finna go get another car, I'm getting an Impala. Everybody finna tell me nothing. Like that was the you getting somewhere car in the hood. I had a 2010 Impala champagne interior leather seats. And I remember sitting in the chair with the dealer, and I had the money for my car, which wasn't a lot. I just knew I could use this portion of it as a down payment. And the first thing I said was, I need the lowest payment. Now at the time, and my pops was with me, but I understand that we are culturally taught this, I believe. Now other people may think like this. It may just be, a lack of information on the best way to buy a car. But I knew that like, this is just what everybody, you tell them you want the lowest payment and they're going to give you a term. And that's all I was told. Nobody was in that deep in the financial literacy realm to be like, no, you should go this route and get this term, because the average time you finna spend in a car might be anywhere from 3 to 5 years. But after that, you ready to move on. Like it's very rare that you're gonna keep a car. I wasn't thinking like that at the time. I wanted an Impala shorty. I'm gonna come out here flex. Like this is what it's gonna be. So I said, yeah, here you go. Here go the down payment. Give me the lowest term to make it the lowest monthly payment. But they gave me a 7-year term, and I paid twice as much as that car was worth by the time I looked up to try to refinance it. And even though I was eligible, now I'm gonna really give y'all some jewels because these things was impacting me. You know what I'm saying? It was just, trying to make it, trying to pay my rent, like all these things. I went to the bank. I tried to refinance it, and I was eligible. They like, yeah, your car 7 years younger, you can refinance. I went to the bank. They was like, no, we ain't gonna do it. I'm like, why not? Like it said in black and white, if it's 7 years and younger. So that lets me know that they didn't feel there was no equity into the car. You feel me? So now I gotta figure out, consolidate this whole thing. And now the car that was worth 10 because of the interest on this car from this 7 year long, it's 10 on top of that. So this car ain't even worth that, and I'm paying 20 bands for it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's definitely a understatement. I don't know. I ain't even gonna say it's a hood thing. It's just a thing of taking advantage of people who either don't know better or just in a financial position that they have to, sign up for things like that. And because I had a friend of mine who signed up twice, and I ain't gonna mention the car dealership that she went to, but they got her twice. You know what I mean? With these bogus, they make it sound good when you sign up for it. But again, they're like, oh yeah, we'll give you the cheapest, the cheapest note that you want. But then when you look at the whole thing of the amount of time that they get you for, and amount of money that's actually going to the car, to the principal and to the car, 2 times I had to sit down with her, after she had
Credit
already did it.
score.
You know what I mean? She had already did it by then, and then she's complaining about, man, I had this car for this many years, and I still owe this much on it. And I'm like, well, what did you sign up for? And when she even mentioned who she got the car from, I'm like, never go there. You know what I'm saying? But but sometimes we find ourselves in these financial positions that don't allow us to move forward like we would like to, in our communities and amongst our families. But before we get out of here, now that you are more savvy in the financial space, and being a speaker as you are, to being able to have these discussions, what is something that you would recommend us or recommend our listeners, even on that journey for knowing that today, okay, I want to do something different today. You know what I mean? I want to start changing some things today. Where would you recommend us to start? And what maybe like 1 or 2 tips that you could probably give us in order to start moving in a positive direction financially?
Uh, First and foremost, write down your budget from where you are. Don't be ashamed of where you're starting, but start the budget from where you are and think about where you want to be in the next 5 years. One method that is really common is the snowball method when it comes to paying down, if you have credit card bills or late bills or anything like that. Another thing would be look into avenues like the stock market or real estate and really set that plan in motion. If you are an entrepreneur, you want to start a business on, start building your personal credit. Go to your bank. Even though your bank may not have all the answers, they have some in regards of getting you a secure credit card to build your credit card profile. Um, Another thing, and probably the most critical thing I would say for the youth, for real, um, be aware of your spending habits and school loans. Education is very important, but pay attention to where you spend the money on education. Even if it's not traditional school, whether it's trade school or online courses, whether it's career path directional courses or educational courses, think about sit down with yourself at 17 or 18 for those in this generation. What do you really want to do? What do you love? What school offers you that? What resources like scholarships, grants, or other things that can help pay towards that, and what's cost effective for you? Your education, there is no dollar amount. It's that degree that matters. So I don't care that it's at you started from a community college or you go to a city college. I care that you graduate, because what's going to say on that paper is that you got a bachelor's degree, that you got an associate's, that you got a PhD. All that, I want to go here. If you do, that's great. The HBCUs is great. But when it comes to the usefulness of finishing your education and you not being a student debt, I had a high school teacher tell me that, man, I got so much debt just from going there. It's ridiculous. I might not never pay it off. I would rather you not find a feasible way for you to get to whatever your career path of success is. And that'll probably be my last one.
Yeah, I love it. I love it, man. I want to thank you, Prince Marcel, for being on, for sharing your expertise. I want you to leave us with some information, or should I say motivation, just a word of advice that I want you to leave us with, however you feel, and also to give us your social media handles and things of that nature, where we can find out where we can follow you and how to stay in touch with you. So I want you to have that last word. I'll give you a couple seconds to think about that. To my listeners, thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. Make sure you guys are checking me out at my website, the deal, not the, but dealhealfulfill.org. Again, it's dealhealfulfill.org is the website, because our mission, my mission, is to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with your problems, to heal from the pain, and to fulfill your purpose. So make sure you go there to the website, dealhealfulfill.org, to find out more information about everything that I have going on. Also, to be able to book me to come out to be a speaker or facilitate a workshop for your school or organization. Also, make sure you guys go to ebooks.ejames.com in order to check out our ebooks. Again, we're giving away the Forgiving Me ebook, the 4-step guide to self-forgiveness, absolutely free. But when you go there to get your free copy of that ebook, do us a favor, purchase one of our other ebooks that we have available. Again, we have the Core 4, which is the 4 core values that every daughter should get from her father, as well as From Males to Men, which is a male mentoring book for young men. Again, that's ebooks.ejames.com. Make sure you guys go and check us out there. Also, our inspirational t-shirt line is deal2healtees.com. That's deal, the number 2, healtees.com. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear an inspirational tee and be inspired all day. Not only do we have inspirational tees, but we also have podcast merch, which is our t-shirts with our podcast logos on it, including the Girl Dad Discussions podcast and the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. And those shirts are available at our inspirational t-shirt line, deal, the number 2, healtees.com, deal2healtees.com. And last but not least, over the last couple of years, I've been blessed to be a part of an organization called the Forgiveness Mission. And what we do, we have free virtual workshops every other month discussing the topic of forgiveness. We talk about forgiveness of self, forgiveness of others, forgiveness of the world, just everything around the topic of forgiveness. We mentioned a little bit about forgiveness in today's podcast, being able to forgive our parents, who may have not been as active in our lives as we wanted them to. But again, we address all kinds of things, all dealing with the topic of forgiveness. It's absolutely free. You can go to forgivenessmission.com in order to sign up for our free virtual workshops. Whenever you're listening to this, either one just ended or there's one coming up. Again, that's forgivenessmission.com. Or you can go to Eventbrite and look up Forgiveness Workshop, sponsored by the Forgiveness Mission, in order to sign up for our next free virtual workshop. Prince Marcel, I want to say thank you once again for coming on the podcast and enlightening us with your story and your expertise. I want you to have the last word, so the floor is yours.
So you can follow me and find me pretty much anywhere and everywhere under Prince Marcel. Instagram specifically might be underscore Prince Marcel. I have a Facebook page. It's actually called Prince Marcel. Fan base. Everybody gonna follow me on fan base. Listen to me. Fan base. Prince Marcel. And you know, when it comes to my last message to y'all, for real, don't throw away your money that can really be used to change your life financially, using it as the catalyst or coping mechanisms. Don't throw your money into these substance abuses, whether it's alcohol, whether it's anything harder or looser, right? Loose squares, Newports, no, I'm serious, Newports and everything, but I'm serious though when it comes to that, because there's better uses for your money, and it can really, change the trajectory of your life. And do the best to try to teach your family, take people with you, and heal that way. Don't heal through alcohol. Don't heal through substance abuse. You know what I'm saying? Don't heal through strip clubs, temptations, none of that. Try to heal with positivity to deal with the things that's going on in your life, and then maybe you can forgive those who you didn't think you could before.
All right, we can't end it no better than that. To my listeners, thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, where our mission is to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill. To deal with your problems, to heal from the pain, and to fulfill your purpose. Until next time, you guys be blessed. Thanks for listening to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. Remember to listen, like, subscribe, and share. This episode has been brought to you by Deal to Heal Teas. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear an inspirational tea and be inspired all day. Let's go to dealtohealteas.myshopify.com. Remember, our mission is to help you to deal, heal, and fulfill. Deal with your problem, heal from the pain, and fulfill your purpose. Thanks for listening.